Hello friends, today we are back with Archetypes, discussing the Jester and the Everyman. So the last one of these videos I did was a whopping 7 months ago, but I am a completionist, so I would really like to finish the series, and I'm sure you would like me to as well. If you'd like to check out my archetypes overview, as well as the first part of my deeper examination, which looked at the innocent and the caregiver, I'll link those in the cards on this screen, as well as in the description down below. Since it has been so long, let's start off with a little reminder about what exactly archetypes are. Archetypes represent a primordial image, character, or pattern of circumstances which recurs consistently enough to be considered a universal concept or situation. Given this definition, you can see that archetypes, when applied to literature, can be extremely helpful. While there are many archetypes floating around out there, my aim with this series is to focus on what's widely accepted as the main 12. So moving on to what you're actually here for, let's start with the Jester. As you can imagine, the Jester just wants to have a laugh. Joyful and carefree, they're often an entertaining archetype who can bring up the mood of anyone around them. They fear boredom, they live in the now, but this can also turn to more negative attributes of frivolity, such as irresponsibility and unintended cruelty through difficulty in understanding a serious situation. Attention-seeking is not always appealing, big surprise, but the Jester's sense of humor can be useful in diffusing negative situations. The Jester can also be very hard to break, as they are experts in finding joy in all things. This can make them a deceptively strong archetype as long as they manage their own impulses. Characters that famously utilize the Jester archetype include Fred and George of Harry Potter, Merry and Pippin in Lord of the Rings, Genie in Aladdin. I'm sure you can come up with a million others just based on those examples. When writing a Jester, one of the most important things to remember is that the Jester is not a two-dimensional character. If you've ever examined comedy and the comedian, oftentimes the funniest people are the darkest and most depressed when it comes to their inner world. These clowns have depth which they cover up with humor, and one of the most poignant parts of a story can be when those depths are revealed. Surprisingly, or after you watch this video, understandably, I, as someone who loves villains, would class the Jester as my secondary favorite character type. And this started early. For all you 90s kids out there, do you remember the story arcs in cartoons Gargoyles and Mighty Ducks, where the Jesters, Brooklyn and Nosedive, became leaders in alternate universes? I think it was alternate universes. In Gargoyles, it was definitely something like that. When those storylines took place and the Jester's darker desires were brought to the surface, those were some of the best, but certainly the least funny episodes. To conclude my summary of the Jester, I want to leave you with some hopefully inspirational subtypes of the archetype as defined by Carol S. Pearson, author and thought leader on archetypal narrative intelligence. These subtypes include the entertainer who helps others have a good time, the wit who uses ingenuity and resourcefulness and lives by their wits, the wise fool who sees the absurdity and hypocrisy of life and rises above it, the holy fool who empathizes living life in the now in a Zen way, and the jovial truth teller who satirizes and parodies current thinking. The Jester should not be underestimated. They are a fascinating archetype to include in your work. But moving on to the Everyman. The Everyman may not seem like the most exciting of the archetypes, but they are a solid foundational character who can offer, similar to the caregiver, some amazing support to your more flighty or adventurous types. If the Everyman were to have a motto, it would be that all people are created equal. These characters want to belong, and they work towards this good through connection and communication. While they fear being left out, they also fear standing out. So if they can be one in a strong, supportive, sort of cohesive crowd, that's when they'll be their happiest. Because of their drive to blend in with their fellow humans, they thrive when it comes to getting real while also providing empathy. However, the path they walk can also result in the loss of their true self as caused by all of those efforts to blend in. If you want to picture a representation of the everyman, think of your next door neighbor who's always there. Not in that annoying way where they show up without notice to have coffee or something, but that guy who's out there with his lawnmower and is all too happy to mow your lawn as well when they can tell that you're busy. But why is the everyman given such a role in this collection of only 12 archetypes? Because in the realm of heroes, jesters, and magicians, it's important to also see oneself in a more realistic way. When including a common person in your writing, you'll be able to use them to make an instant connection with your reader. Present your everyman as exactly that, a normal person with all the trappings of their basic life, but then turn that on its head. Give them some tragic news. Send them into a dangerous situation. Joseph Campbell's presentation on archetypes is called The Hero's Journey for a reason, and while innocents and orphans are great starters for that path, the everyman is just as good. While Frodo Baggins is an innocent as well as an orphan, we wouldn't fully class Bilbo as such. Sure, he's kind of innocent in that way that all hobbits are, but I'd much sooner class him as an everyman. If you've seen that meme floating around of him sitting down to eat dinner in the Hobbit film when the doorbell rings and just that look of utter disappointment, that's relatable, right? In that moment, we are all Bilbo, and that feeling stays with us right until the credits roll. Hagrid, while a caregiver, also takes on everyman traits. He's accepting, compassionate, grounded, hardworking, humble, and content in the life that he's built for himself. The last thing he wants is to be sent off to Azkaban or drawn into political concerns, yet he accepts the ups and downs of his life and requests of the people he admires head on. The Jester and the Everyman are both archetypes who don't seem very deep at first glance, which is what can make them such fascinating characters when explored properly. And that's it for now. I've got 4 more parts in this series, and we'll be doing them mostly monthly, depending on NaNoWriMo expectations. Next, we'll be looking at the creator and the lover. Until then, what did you think about the Jester and the Everyman? Have you used one or both of these archetypes in your own writing? Let me know in the comments down below. Personally, I've been working on crafting my ideal Jester for quite a few years in my fantasy epic Centera. Thank you as always for stopping by. Remember to check out those previous archetype videos. Oh, and if you're working on a story to submit to the Stygian collection, you've got just over 3 weeks to go, so I hope all is going well. Pei and I cannot wait to read what you send in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you actually get notified when I post new videos. And last but not least, I hope that you are having a day that is just as wonderful as you are. Bye.